I was around Joseph Timothy Keel quite a bit. We were cordial and on good terms, but there was something about him that threw me off. I could easily see he had a low IQ and had other mental deficiencies, but that wasn't uncommon here. Still, why I wasn't comfortable around him was really odd. There were other guys here that I felt the same way toward, and for most, I can't put my finger on why I wasn't comfortable around him. Reading the court's opinion of Keel's case, it seems as though Keel's father-in-law made reference to Keel abusing his wife, called him a woman beater. All three lived in a trailer park together. Keel was heard saying he was going to kill that son of a bitch, and he did. Not being of the high mental acuity, Keel's plan went awry, and he needed to concoct a story. It was thin and transparent. Whether he had the wherewithal to appreciate the enormity of his actions is unclear. He was convicted and sentenced to death in 1991. He won a new trial and was again sentenced to death. If Keel was ever violent while here, I never heard of it. He attended church services as his cell was on what's known as the church block. He was quiet and unassuming. In the early morning hours of November 7, 2003, a little after 2 a.m., Joseph Timothy Keel was pronounced dead. His crimes now paid for. In God's eyes, his slate is clean. I first saw John Daniels. He was walking back and forth on the top tier of E-Block. He was singing country music along with the radio. Well, that was rather odd for a black guy. What was oddest of all was that his headphone wire on his radio was so short that he had to hold the radio close to his head. The cord was only 12 inches long. If he was unhappy with this, he didn't show it. He just walked and sang. I immediately liked John Daniels. I didn't know anything about his crimes, but I gathered that he was an addict and killed a relative. Many stories I can tell about this guy. We played spades and dominoes many times, drank wine and got high with it. And we cried tears of grief together when shotgun was taken to the death chamber. John was a married man and had kids. At the time of his crime, John's son was 12 years old. He had those things, but he also had a habit. Crack cocaine had a hold on him, and he rarely admitted it. On the night of the incident, he had been drinking wine and was somewhat drunk. He went to his aunt's house and knocked. He asked for some money and asked if his wife and son could stay with her, as he was behind on the bills and the rent hadn't been paid. His aunt refused and said she was going to call his mama. That set him off. In the ensuing struggle, he strangled his aunt. Taking some cash, he left. High on crack, he went home, smoked some more crack, and attacked his wife, then his son, then the neighbor. John confessed that he might have otherwise gotten away with the crime. While in custody, he attempted suicide several times. That got him sent to Dorothea Dix Mental Hospital. He was diagnosed with an antisocial personality disorder. The lieutenant in the jail backed up the same with testimony to the effect that John was not sane that night. After living with John for a number of years, I can attest to the fact that John was humble, courteous, and avoided conflict. He was considered trustworthy and was liked by staff and prisoners alike. When I first came to the road, I tried to deal with my problems by taking pills, a lot of pills. Many times I'd get up, go to breakfast, pop a few pills, and play dominoes. My partner was generally Michael Pinch. John's partner was Russell Holden. Over the course of the day, all but Russell would take pills, and all was cool. All was cool until I couldn't find my tobacco pouch, that is. It was always found later, somewhere in my cell, but for whatever reason, I always fixated on John Daniels for stealing my tobacco. Every time, when high, if I misplaced my tobacco, in my mind, it was always John. I think I might have fixated on him because he often needed something to smoke. He was my culprit. He never even knew it. John wasn't a thief. He would have asked or did without. That he regretted his crimes was evident. They weighed heavily on his mind, and on November 14th, 2003, the burden of that fateful night was lifted from him. The state of North Carolina now has a higher burden, as John Daniels' death served no one. I met Robbie Lyons before he received the death sentence. He was working in the kitchen. I'd never seen him before. I forget now what I asked for, but it was either some milk or coffee. You had to pick the right guy to ask something like that, as some will talk shit and not help out. Robbie immediately got what I asked for and was cool about it. I next saw him when I was on segregated lockup. I forget why either of us were there, but we spoke and got along well. I asked him what name he went by, and he said his street name was Insane. On September 25th, 1993, Insane was involved in attempted robbery and the murder of the owner of Sam's Curd Market in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. From what little I read about his crime, I feel like something's kind of off here. The murder weapon belonged to Derek Hall. Hall was in the store when the shooting occurred. A witness placed both men at the scene, saying she saw Insane run out after hearing gunshots. Derek Hall was never charged with the crime. Not to my knowledge. He turned himself into the police the next day after the shooting, putting all blame on Insane. At trial, Insane put no evidence on in the guilt phase. At the sentencing phase, he was seen many times by a doctor of psychology. The doctor also spoke to people that knew Insane and read records as far back as when he was 8 years old. He diagnosed Insane as having bipolarism and antisocial personality disorder, as well as being a substance abuser. To me, Derek Hall's testimony was too pat. In most cases like this, Hall would have been charged as a co-defendant and given leniency for his testimony. He got off scot-free. I was in regular population briefly in 1997. While there, an old man came in. After talking a while, it came out that he was aware of the trial of Insane. Backing up from where I started, after talking a while, it came out that he was aware of the trial of Insane. He also knew the store owner. I sensed animosity from him toward Insane, along with no small amount of racism, he being white and Insane being black. On October 5th, 2003, Robbie J. Lyons, a.k.a. Insane, was put to death by the state of North Carolina. Whatever his crimes, they have been paid for.